historic 1862 battle between the Army of Northern Virginia and the Army of the Potomac. Now here we have a musket. I'm representing a member of the U.S. Army, the Army of the Potomac Infantry Unit. I would be a private since I have no stripes or bars. Of course, I would be a male, and I would probably be a boy between the age of 17 and 22. Now here at Fort Pulaski, even though the battle was an artillery battle, artillery only, there weren't actually men fighting with muskets across the plain. It was a cannon fire battle. I would still be trained on these types of muskets. As an infantry soldier, being here in the fort, this parade ground would look a little different to me in my eyes. I wouldn't see these nice shade trees or the fig tree. I certainly wouldn't see the top of the lighthouse over there. I wouldn't see any green grass. All I would see as an infantry soldier would be basically dirt, maybe a few barrels, maybe a couple of cannons facing the entranceway, and that was it. And it was perfect for drilling, simply because you need a flat, level area to drill on. Men back then were drilled in both companies and in squads, and companies, of course, ranged from 35 to 40 men, squads about 5 to 7 men. Now, what I'm firing today, what I just fired a few minutes ago, what was actually issued to every infantry soldier in both the Army of the Potomac and in the Army of Northern Virginia, the Confederate Army, and that was a rifled musket. Now, there were two types of guns in the 19th century. You had your muskets and you had your rifles. And back in 1853, about 8 years before the war broke out, the British decided to combine the two technologies, and they came up with the first rifled musket, the first hybrid. And that is what this is right here. This is a Enfield rifle musket. Now this is the British weapon. Over 1 million of these were sold to both the North and the South. And they ended up on our Civil War battlefield. And the American version, which came later, which was the 1855 Springfield, was actually mostly used by the U.S. Army. However, this would have been secondly used by the U.S. Army, so not uncommon for me to have actually sold one of these. This rifled musket weighs about 13 and a half pounds. It's got an extra long barrel. It's 56 inches long, which makes it almost 5 feet tall. To be in the infantry, not only did you have to be a man, but you had to be at least 5'4". You guys know that? 5'4". And there's a couple of reasons for that. Because in order to load this easily, is the muzzle loader, which makes part of it, reason why it's a musket is a muzzle loader. You have to use this implement right here called a rammer or a ramrod to pack the powder in the Manet ball. So you draw your rammer and pull it out, and then of course after you put the contents down inside, you would ram it all the way down to the end. To do this quickly, effectively, and fast, you had to have some arm reach. If you weren't at least 5'4", you'd be in the artillery, the drum corps, bugler, wherever your service could be rendered, but you wouldn't be an infantry or foot soldier, simply because it takes a long time to actually pull, draw, and ram the cartridge. This particular piece, this musket, this Enfield, men were drilled on it. Their goal was to drill and average about 3 shots per minute or once every 20 seconds. And unfortunately, because I'm not 5'4", it's a little more difficult for me, I average about 24 seconds. So it was actually, everything depended on how quickly and fast you could reload. You'd be saving your life, saving your comrade's life, and so you had to do this effectively and efficiently. Another requirement to be in the U.S. Army was that you had to have 2 teeth. Did y'all know that? Now y'all are like giggling. You're supposed to laugh at that. Okay. In the 19th century, you're talking about the dental hygiene back then wasn't all that good. Now, can anyone tell me why you would need 2 teeth, one on top of the other? Yes, ma'am.
You use your teeth to tear the cartridge.
Absolutely. Use your teeth to tear the cartridge. All right, so we're going to go through the loading process and show you how this baby is loaded. Here's the cartridge. Mine only has black powder today because I'm not firing an actual Manet ball. I'm only firing the exact amount of powder soldiers would use. Now, you're going to have your stock between your feet, your musket. The muzzle's going to be out, extended with your left arm. You're going to bring up the cartridge and bring it to your mouth. Now, you had to have 2 teeth, one on top of the other, once again, to be in the infantry. Otherwise, artillery would be happy to have you. You can tear the cartridge with your teeth, and that's going to expose the black powder, which is going to be down here. You're going to rip it very close to where the powder is exposed. At that point in time, your mini ball or your Minet ball would be inside of the cartridge itself on the bottom. So you think of it like this. You're going to pour the contents down from the open cartridge. Your black powder is going to go down first, and your Minet ball is upended. It's going to end up on the cartridge inside the barrel, kind of like this, pointed up. Now your mini ball, your Minet ball, it's actually Minet after Claude Minet, invented in 1849. We started calling it mini because we thought it was cute because it's not mini, it's 58 caliber. Also, it's not a ball, it's actually a pointed projectile. The mini ball actually needs help to get down there because this is a rifle musket, so you're rifling grooves cut along the inside. That is when you would draw a rammer and push it all the way down. Your goal is to get to that breech here. Now, breech is the bottom part of the muzzle, of the barrel, all the way back here. Behind you is the pressure chamber. This is where you want to let your mini ball sit. Because this basically is how you fire your musket. This is a cap lock system musket. You use a custom cap to fire it. You want that explosion in that pressure chamber when you build up the black powder, the gases, to explode that mini ball. So your goal has to be all the way down at the end. If it doesn't get down there, your musket is not going to fire. Okay? That is loading. Once you draw your rammer, you pack it. You want to make sure you put it back in its proper position for the simple reason that it needs to go back. If you don't, you're going to shoot it down the field like a harpoon. Makes for a great projectile one time. And after that, you don't have any other way of packing your mini ball and powder. You're basically stuck with a 13-pound club. So, you want to make sure you put it back. Seems my rammer is stuck. I have to get another musket. What I'm going to have to do before we fire. Alright, so that's loading. The next step is called priming. That is when you put the percussion cap on there. As I mentioned, it's a percussion lock system. So you think of the percussion cap like a fuse on a bomb. The musket just doesn't fire on its own. It needs something to propel it forward. And you have to start by using a fuse. The fuse is called a cap. Now, notice that's, of course, decocked. This is half-cocked, full-cocked. When full cock to fire it, you're going to do half-cock to prime. Now, half-cock, if you notice I'm pulling the trigger and nothing's happening because it's for safety. You always want to prime at half-cock. This is when you put your cap on. That way, you don't actually explode the musket prematurely and blow something off you don't want to blow off. So priming, you're going to put the cap on. The cap is actually like a modern-day percussion cap used in cap guns. Basically, it's a little bit of fulminated mercury at the end of a copper or brass cap. It's going to fit over what is known as the cone or vent. This actually leads down into that breech area, into that pressure chamber. A spark that happens when you snap the cap, travels down there, ignites the gunpowder, and propels out the mini ball. That's how it works. Now, to go back to full cock, I'm going to snap the cap so you guys can hear what it sounds like. It's going to be a little sharp sound, so you might want to hold your ears.
There we go.
Alright, that's snapping a cap. Now the cap is no longer of any use to the soldier. Basically, once the cap has been spent once, you have to basically throw it on the ground, put another cap on. One-time use. That mercury has been used up. It's blackened on the inside. The petals that shape out the cap are now descended and actually no longer of any use. So throw it on the ground, put a new cap on. You have to do this each and every single time you fire. So it is kind of a long, drawn-out process. That's why it's very important you get the 20 seconds down in your drill. Otherwise, you're just going to be a sitting duck. Now, the thing about it, the men back then, when they were firing in long rows. They fired in rows sometimes 200 men long, and there'd be about 500, 600 yards apart on the battlefield at the beginning of a battle, with the lines getting closer as the battle wore on. Now, you have long rows of men lined up against other long rows of men. You have a musket that's accurate up to 900 yards. So guess what's going to happen? You're going to have a lot of firing and a lot of noise, smoke. So a lot of men are being killed. Exactly. The reason being is because they were using tactics from a prior era. They were using Napoleonic tactics, and they weren't actually using tactics that were made for the